welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Coach Cheryl, and this is going to be episode 1 about living from the divine coherence, living from our deepest connection to who we are as source, as light, as love. And I'm speaking specifically to this process in this series about how that overlays in our relationships and how we can reimagine our relationships in this transformative time on the planet right now, because lots of things are shifting and changing. And I'm focused, I've taken my work and focused the body of my work in this specific way. So this will be the first of a series that is going to be designed to support you in a journey into living from the frequency of source, God, love, and how this sacred alignment reimagines your relationships from the inside out. And so for the purpose of this body of work, if you're not doing this already, I want you to experiment with this perspective that life is a mirror of where we are in alignment or not in alignment with the truth of who we are as source, right? Life is a mirror of our own coherence, our life experiences, including the dynamics of relationships, but also, right, our health, our wealth, our careers, our creativity, pretty much everything is a mirror. But for me, the juiciest and the most potent portal is relationships. And it reflects what is active in our field of consciousness, right? They reveal our current alignment or misalignment with who we are as the divine, as love, as divine love, as the quantum field of consciousness, the Christ consciousness mind, heart, one body. There's really many ways that we can say this. There's many paths that we can take. But what I have learned is in all these paths, it comes back to recognizing that my life is a reflection of what's inside of my consciousness. And relationships just happen to be a very potent portal and to have a very deep initiation or activation or whatever you want to term in that space, right? So at any given moment, we are living through either fear, right? Separation and scarcity projection, or love, unity, abundance, and divine connection. And so when we're in the space of fear, separation, scarcity, and protection, right? We're protecting ourselves. We're protecting and we're projecting and we're deflecting. There's no love in that space. And our energies, whether we're aware of it or not, are in a survival mode. And so there's a lot of manipulation and control, and there's a vampiring of energy. And I'm not saying that people are walking around consciously doing this, although some people may be very aware of what they're doing and very rooted in that victim consciousness. That's their identity. So a lot of those things become acceptable. But there's no love in that space, and it's going to drain energy. It's draining the life force of the person that's operating in that space, and then the life force of the relationships that are in that space. However, in the space of love, where there's unity, abundance, and divine connection, we can bring fear into that space, and it can be alchemized. And aspects of our fear can be integrated through that perspective of love, through the alignment, that unity, that abundance, that divine connection. And this is the journey. And this is not to say, this journey is not about good, bad, right, or wrong. You can't get this journey good, bad, right, or wrong. It's not going to go that way. It's an opportunity that you're in with the creation itself to remember yourself back into wholeness. That's what the journey's for. And when we're in our fear perspective, it's a very serious journey, and it's steeped in a victim consciousness, that believes that there is something wrong. There's something wrong. And we need to be fixing it, or we need to be taking it, or we need to be demanding of it. There's something that's very needy about it. And that can feel very serious and heavy. I know, I've been there for sure. But this journey that I intend to take you on is going to be a pathway to kind of open you up to understand yourself differently, and then to decide to make some different decisions for yourself. So, what is divine coherence? Divine coherence is a state of alignment with source energy, God, love, truth. And in this way, it's an inner union, an inner harmony that brings all aspects of your being into resonance with your authentic essence. It's bringing all the different degrees of fear, which often take on different personalities, that come up. It's about bringing those identities into a greater identity and knowing yourself as one. It's an alchemical process of taking full responsibility for what's happening in your subconscious mind, bringing it into your conscious mind, and alchemizing it consciously through your own heart center. And how this plays in relationships is that the relationship that you're in, if it's activating you or triggering you in ways that you don't want to be activated and triggered, because sometimes we like to be activated in joy, in pleasure, into peace. There's some activations that we desire, but there's some activations that we are just so triggered, and it triggers our protections and our projections and our the way we deflect or defend. It calls us into fight and flight and freeze and fawn. And in those spaces, we're not in that connection to inner harmony. And we really believe that something outside of us was the cause for what was revealed to us within us. So when we move towards coherence, we're coming into an inner harmony, and all those parts of ourselves gets to get medicine from us. So the key elements in this conversation is really, we're going to, over the series, support you in better understanding what energy is, what your energy field is, what your chakra system is, and that your field emits signals that attract experiences, people, places, situations, mirroring your internal state. And it can't be any other way. And I've had people try to really tell me, like, no, this is not me. This is somebody's projection. This is somebody else's stuff. And it could be that this person, place, or situation had some of what you had going on inside of them. But if it's landing on you and you aren't able to completely own it, and you are being triggered by it, and a triggering can look like you're repulsed, you're in judgment, you have a prejudice, you have a bias, you have a, you want to cull it out and exclude it from you, right? You want the thing outside of you to be so far away from you. That's you revealing to yourself that you have an aspect of yourself energetically that you are wanting to be avoidant of inside of yourself. The other thing we're going to focus on is unique expression. You are a living frequency within an organic divine matrix, and coherence brings clarity to your authentic voice and purpose within this dimension of yourself, right? Where you're playing in the field of relationships here on this 3D planet. And when we are integrating ourselves out of our fear aspects and all of their personalities, all the different ways we identify, when we bring ourselves back into coherence, we're literally bringing ourselves back into our own authentic voice and purpose. And what you can see now when you look in the world is there's a lot of people mimicking other people. It's a very interesting thing. But we're not here to mimic other people, actually. We're actually here to be adding unto creation. And when we add into creation, we're literally bringing new information into the field of consciousness that gets to be shared. And so we're not here to actually mimic other people or necessarily adopt other people's models or frameworks. Even this, as I give you this series, my intention would be to help you remember or awaken within your own integration process something that you'll add onto this, or I don't know what you'll do with it, right? But hopefully it's going to bring something, it's going to align you in something where you might feel validated and seen through this process with me. However, I would imagine that it's going to birth something new. It'll bring something new. Yeah. And then the other component is the conditioning, right? We're going to look at how life experiences, traumas, and societal programs can create distortions in your field, leading you to this fragmentation that I've been speaking of. And then remembering, right? The divine coherence is the sacred remembering of who you truly are beyond conditioning, and an integrated being of love and creative power. Really, to say that we're going to come out of conditioning, we're going to move out of our victim consciousness and come into a state of remembering ourselves, which is really bringing back all those false identities that we have, bringing them all into coherence with the divine, so that you are expansive beyond your conditioning. You're returning literally to an innocence of yourself that was never touched by the experiences that you had here on the planet. I know it sounds very distant, maybe. However, I intend to share with you in this process the reality of how you can link all of this together so that you can move into being an energy of love and creative power at any moment, at any time. And when you're feeling that you're not in that space, that you have the ease and the grace to bring yourself back into harmony, because life will be always challenging us to grow. This I can tell you, 62 years on the planet, I can tell you, as much awareness that I have, the more creativity wants to come through me. And every time creation wants to expand in creation with collaborating and co-creating with me, I'm asked to step further and further into my unlimitedness. And that can sometimes still rattle something in my consciousness, and I am having to grow and expand again. So let me just share a little bit about where I'm coming from. So I've had many experiences of the process that I'm sharing with you, but my initial full-bodied, beyond any kind of education, I got a bachelor's degree in holistic health and well-being, and I got training, education in business, actually, believe it or not. And so beyond that, though, I did a year program, and it was a very intimate journey. And I walked the path of the 7 operations of alchemy, which is a deep initiatory process that revealed the secret long encoded within the emerald tablet for any of my Hermetic followers here, and the mystery of the Philosopher's Stone. And so in that 7 operations of alchemy, the greatest revelation for me was the learning of as within, so without. So they have the as above, so below, but the as within, so without is really what spoke to me. And just so you know, in this process, I did it with some other people, and we had a shaman, a woman that walked us through the process. And at that time, we were told we can't use any research. We can't, at the time, the internet wasn't as powerful as it is now. But even at that limited situation that it was, I was told that I couldn't do any research. I couldn't read any books, that I was to follow this process that she was putting us through. And the only thing I could do is access my own intuition. And what she was trying to train at that time was for me to actually be able to connect into my own higher consciousness to walk through the process, the 7 operations of alchemy, and would have to submit homework, and we had to do it in a timely way. And then she would read the homework, assess it, and decide whether or not we were responding from our egos, grabbing of information, or if we were really integrating, right, the personality and the higher self or in a conversation. And so that's just, and let me just reveal to you at that point, the first thing the ego does when you start to walk this spiritual path is the ego will try to grab information, which is a very interesting thing, because the ego can spin information in such a way, and that leaves us really never, it puts on a false persona of us having a spiritual activation and movement. So she would send work back if we didn't make that higher connection, and she had her own way of knowing that. And so that was really interesting, but it did fine tune me, right? I went through a lot of initiations in that experience. But like I said, the biggest thing that I was left with, as within, so without, because she made it really clear that within that year, we could change nothing about our outer world. Nothing. We had to change everything. Any influence on the shifts that were happening in the outer world needed to come from a vibrational shift within our own consciousness, within our own residence, right? Our own open mind, our own open heart, and our own relaxed body. So I was called to transmute and refine my consciousness, not by asking the outer world to do anything, but becoming the change within myself. We were also told that if we were going to teach this, we needed to do 3 years in a row of alchemizing our own life. So that was something that I had to do. And I probably did this alchemical process over 25 years ago, the first time. Yeah. So once I completed this inner alchemy process by learning how to hold myself in wholeness, sovereignty, and love, and from that place, my outer world really did start to shift. Relationships, opportunities, abundance transformed organically. And this is what I call the power of divine coherence, right? Because over time, I've adopted those operations into other ways and overlaid them with other teachings and other training. So in this conversation, then, when we're going to use relationships as a playground for integrating this work, the perspective we have now is the purpose of relationships as a mirror to our coherence, right? So we have an old way, the old paradigm of relationship, I call it. It has a story, right? It's the old paradigm of relationship has been in play for decades now. Decades. I was born in the 60s, so I was really born into a real time where there was real conscious shifts and changes happening in the outer world, especially in relationships, especially in the dynamics between men and women. But the old paradigm is rooted in survival, attachment, unmet childhood needs, and unconscious wounds. Some of you may have been with me when I was doing the 6 stages of conscious relating. And there are 6 stages of development. And there's a point in that where we are initially attracted to somebody by our animal attraction to just procreate and preserve the species. And that's a beautiful thing. But also what's happening in that place, and there's also hormones involved, right? It's very animal-based, lower chakra experience. Also, though, at a spiritual and energetic level, we're also, which was not very conscious to most of us, and to our ancestors before us, was an energetic attraction, right? We were also energetically attracting, besides our pheromones and our need to procreate and to belong and pair bond. We were also attracting to us the person energetically that was going to be best to trigger us in our wounded state, to collaborate and co-create with us from our traumas, which became a way of trauma bonding, some say now, or it introduced into consciousness the drama triangle, right? The victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer. And so in the space of that is where we got steeped in codependency, projection, deflection, and any attempt to fill an inner void through another person. To be in that space where I'm with you with all of these animal-based needs, but I also have all these other relational needs. And so I need you to give me my good feelings. I need you to affirm me. I need you to love me. I need you to be whatever specific way you needed to feel in order to feel seen, heard, loved, of value, of worth, safe even. Yeah. You're seeking validation or completion of something that didn't get completed, a trauma that needed to complete itself, or a traumatic event that never had full completion, right? You're seeking it. You're literally seeking to get this. And this is a very victim position, right? You're coming in to this situation in a victim way, not even realizing it. And I couldn't realize it because of my trauma-driven background, I was extremely independent and resilient. But inside of an intimate relationship, lots of other things came forward. And so that's the old paradigm of relating. That's not good, bad, right, or wrong. That's just saying our consciousness was really low in our body, and we were really operating from a primal state, which is okay because there's a place for that in a conscious relationship. And there was a void, right? We didn't know that we were also attracting to us energetically these patterns that were going to help us expand and grow. So in this new paradigm of relationship, we understand the sacred mirrors for soul growth and evolution, that we know that the person in front of us, it could be a sibling, a parent, a child, a lover, a sister, an elder, whatever's going on in the energetic containment between your heart and their heart, whatever that is, their subconscious mind and your subconscious mind, is there for the purpose of growth, evolution, your soul's evolution. The new paradigm of relationships is grounded in self-responsibility, where I'm taking personal responsibility for what's going on inside of me. I'm taking responsibility to come into alignment, coherence with who I am first as love, and then deciding to share that love into this relationship with you. I'm sovereign, right? I'm energetically sovereign. To be sovereign means that you are sovereign over all of your energy, body, mind, and spirit, all energy, seen and unseen. And that relationships are portals for divine expression, creation, and true intimacy. Big shift, right? Really big shift. So we go from a relationship that's transactional, or we're looking for something, to the potential of being in a relationship we are in service. And when you have conscious people, or you're raising conscious people, right? Or you are living in consciousness, you can influence relationships of all sorts to shift from being transactional to being in service. That you have a back and forth, a sharing of energy, and we're not in that codependent state, and we are not feeding off of somebody else's energy in any way at all. We're sovereign in our own energy, and we are bringing what we're bringing to the experience. And what's happening in the other energetic field, well, that's what's happening in the other energetic field. And we are at a choice point all the time as to how we are going to be within that experience. So my closing invitation today is that when you cultivate divine coherence within, your outer world, especially your relationships, naturally begins to reflect this inner harmony. And this is the path of freedom, of being sovereign energetically, of being authentic, and to moving into conscious intimacy with yourself and the divine, and then all other things, right? All of the creative opportunities and expressions. It's a return to energetic sovereignty and to wholeness. and it's delightful. So I invite you to walk with me on this path, just to keep coming back and checking in to see what's going to be next, because we're going to build on this conversation, and then I'll be offering you perspectives, tools, practices, just different ways for you to deeply reflect on yourself and to learn the power of putting your hands on your heart and saying, I take full responsibility for this creation. Full responsibility. Because if you are rejecting any part of your experience in life and you are convinced that this should not be happening to you, you are in a victim consciousness. Yeah. So I invite you to come back. And if you feel right now like you want to go deeper, I have a one-on-one 90-day Divine Coherence Momentum. It's an immersive container where you can reclaim wholeness, practice sovereignty, and embody our highest timeline through the tools that I will share with you in that process. And one of them being a dialogue to wholeness, which is just a fabulous way to access integration. But you'll also have just one-on-one time with me and my gifts and the divine gifts that I bring into this process that supports a person to be able to move into full integration, because I can help to see you in your blind spots and help you to have that communication that brings you home through remembering, besides all the other things, the breath work, the alchemy, the mindset, and of course, the sacred integration. So thank you for being here with me. I look forward to you in episode number 2. Please, if you've liked this conversation, like it, share it, please, and also click subscribe so that you'll know when episode 2 comes. Peace and blessings. I love you.